Right, let's dive straight into another tutorial then. What we're going to be doing, my kid is a big fan of Pet Simulator X, who's generated an AI image here. So we're going to try and create this. So I'll put that as a link in the description if you want to download it. I'll put that onto my other monitor. Let's just dive straight into it then. We've got our screencast and Epic pen, wireframe on, swig of tea. Let's get into edit mode and let's just dive straight in and start creating a few loop cuts. I mean, we could enter sculpt mode. I don't really want heavy geometry. Let's see how it goes for a bit. Let's make sure we've got our X on there. That's our X axis. Let's try and get a few supporting edges in there. I might probably add a subdivision modifier maybe in a bit, or at least a bevel. So yeah, make sure you're across your. That seems to be working, the Epic pen. Let's just close my Epic pen. Reopen it. Yeah, we're on there. Make sure you're across your X-axis and you'll be able to grab both sides then. Apologies for that. Now it's in as well. You can see our tool. So yeah, we're across our X-axis. If you want to get the eyes in there, let's just start shaping the eye. Like at least get a basic shape in there. Down there. Doesn't matter too much about that. Somewhere like down there. Then it comes back up, doesn't it? Not quite as big. Just roughing the shaping of the eye. Goes to a point there, and then back up. Control S. Let's go into, just save it on the desktop for now. PSX. Save. I guess what we could do, we'll go into extrude along normals, then go back. We could get a sphere in there, couldn't we then? Important thing again, so we could say. Right. Let's just add supporting edges here. And then, oh look what else we got. We'll cut that across there. Then we'll try and cut a bit of a mouth shaping. So again, I think we'll have a edge loop. Move that in there a bit, back down, and again, right click, extrude along normals, extrude that in. Bit of a supporting edge there. I might add another supporting edge in there. So it holds up better. The more supporting edges you get, the better it'll hold up when you add your modifier. So let's just add this modifier, see how it looks. Generate subdivision surface, right click and shade smooth, turn the wireframe off. That's not too bad, is it? So by adding them supporting edges, keeps a lot of the form in place on that cube. And you can bump up the levels as well. That's not too bad at all, is it? If you turn that off there, you can work on it. Control S to save without the modifier on, do a bit of tweaking. So just looking at the shape. Line, shape and form. It's all about with art. I'm no expert, but line, shape and form. And it looks like there's a little nose, so we could try and create a boolean as well, or we could paint it in with a texture, maybe that. That could be the basic shape of the body, couldn't it? We'll do a bit of polish on that, but that can be the basic shape. Let's go to Z to 1, all transforms. Let's just double check we've still got our mirror. Yeah. Sometimes when resetting values, Blender can act funny and lose your mirror, but we've still got our mirror. I'm thinking, let's go to add mesh, UV sphere. Right click and shade smooth, and if we look at this there, it's not really poking out a lot, is it? The eye. We'll try. We won't create it in a traditional kind of eyeball. We'll try and keep the spirit of the ball of the eye. I don't really want it popping out as much as a normal eye would. What we're doing, we're just getting it into place there. Maybe scale it down a touch. Maybe scale it back actually more. It fills it a bit more. I'm thinking something like that, so you got it popping out, but not as much. So look at it from the side. Thinking something along the lines of that. And obviously what you have to do then is shape. If you go into Sculpt mode, G for grab, you can shape it then a bit in Sculpt mode. And we're just shaping it around the eye. So yeah, my kid Elijah likes this Pet Simulator X game. He's asked me to do this tutorial, and he may use this in a little game he's trying to make. He's really really creative little kid. So shaping this eye a bit. If you Alt Q, you can switch to the eye. But I actually want to keep that round because we might do some. We'll probably do a bit of rigging on that. Maybe do a few little eye darts. Let's just. We'll sort out that bit in a while. Maybe scale the eye a bit. Let's just get into the ballpark. I'm just moving things about a bit. We need to polish the shape of the eye a bit. And I might just scale that a touch more, bring it down, bring it out a bit more, and in there, just to bridge that gap a bit. So we'll do a bit of polish on that in a bit. Just do a bit more tweaking first. Just tweaking the shape a bit. Not 100% happy with that, but I think we'll just adjust the proportions on it a bit. That's got to come down. Up a touch. That looks pretty much okay, I think. Or maybe bring that in a little bit. Come out to see through, Control S to save. Stick our subdiv back on. Or maybe just bevel that in a bit. Still not 100% happy with this eye shape at the minute. Let's just back into Sculpt mode. F to resize. Bring that down into more of a point there. Something along the lines of that. And maybe we could just scale that a bit, but obviously don't come out the side of the cube. That's not too bad for now. Let's just go with that for now. Still not happy with the eye shape, but we'll fix that up in a bit. Right, so let's think about getting a wing in there. Winging it. As usual. So cube. Let's move that over here, then we can mirror it. Scale this so it's more of a thickness of a wing. Kind of a rectangular shape, this wing seems to be. We go into edit mode. Add a few loops. Let's just try and shape this wing a bit. It seems to go like that, and it seems to go inwards. There. That seems to go inwards. That goes in. And then this bit seems to go 2 bits inwards there. Or something along the lines of that. For the shape. Just thinking about line shape and form again. So that's the basic shape of the wing. Let's have a swig of water. I'm just thinking, there seems to be bone on it as well. Let's add a few supporting edges around the side there. So we can use our subdivision modifier again. Add a couple of cuts in there. Let's have a look what we'll do. I think we'll add mesh. I think it could be duplicate that. Let's go to add mesh cube. Move this up there. Scale. Let's try and create the wing bone. Just get into a basic. I mean, we could have duplicated them faces, but let's just there's plenty of different ways to do it, isn't there? We'll go into edit mode. We'll add a cut here. Back into face mode. Right click, extrude. Then move it all the way along. And then a few more cuts in here so we can shape it. See-through mode. Let's just shape it to match the edge of that wing. It seems to go thinner at the end. Then we'll just shape this to go to the end. Make sure you're in see-through mode. You're getting all the vertices you need. That goes thinner there. Out, round there. Maybe back a little bit thinner again. Something like that. But then we've also got, they seem to be going down there as well. I'm thinking, let's add one loop cut right there and a loop cut there. This extrude, then bring it down there, rotate it a bit, scale it. We're in see-through mode. Let's just move the vertex down there. It goes all the way to the end, pretty much to the end. But then that's a little bit thin there. Let's grab them to bring that out a bit. But then we have another one. A right click, extrude along normal. Then bring it down to this one. What was it? I want to find the right. So one of them's there. And the other one is the... And if I've missed a sec. Let's see, one of them's there. And the other one is there, that's right. Like that. Then obviously what we need to do then is in edge mode. Let's add a few edges. Then by doing that we can shape it a bit better. There's all different ways to go about it. I mean, that's just... You know, when you're doing these tutorials, you're just doing stuff on the fly, so you may not have picked the best method. That's showing you one of the methods of how to go about it. What we'll probably do is possibly extrude this bit out, do a bit of welding. So we've got like a thin sort of these faces here. We could maybe on this one, we could maybe extrude these faces out a bit in polish. That can be the basic wing for now. Control A, all transforms to deltas. Come out to see-through mode. Let's go to generate subdivision surface. Turn it off. Into vertex mode and see-through. We can clearly see that we need a bit more going inwards here to create more of a wing look. Turn it back on. That's a bit better. We'll probably add a few. Might add a few more loops, and you can do that just by inserting your edge loop there. So just shape the wings a little bit more. Which we'll do in polishing a bit. Shape them a bit. We'll polish that up in a bit. Obviously it's too flat there, you need a little bit of... You don't really want it so flat, do you? You could go into Sculpt mode. F to resize. Grab brush. And just move it out a little bit. It's not quite as flat. Which I think could be more of a polish thing. Not sure if we shaded smooth. Right click and shade smooth. This will need some to go into edit mode as well and add some more supporting edges. It doesn't destroy it when we add a subdivision modifier. Let's just try a bevel out of interest. Possibly, but subdivision. That'll probably work better. We'll do a bit of a polish and shaping on that. Just bring it in there for now. Sculpt mode, you need to reset it, really, the values, before you go into Sculpt mode. You'll get that warning, and sometimes you can't shape it as well as you want. It's just a case of Control A. I'll show you in a minute that. Just nudge that in for now. That needs a polish. Control A, all transforms to deltas. Control A, all transforms to deltas on the eye, which means we'll be able to get a bit of a movement on the eye. Control S to save. That can be the basic wing for now. Select the bow and the wing. Control P. keep transform. So when you move the wing, the bone will move. Let's try and get that into at least into a basic position where we want it. So work locally, you'll get a better rotation. Doesn't matter if you work globally. I mean, I can never quite this. It's best to block in global when you're animating and then switch to local when you're polishing. I mean, it feels like that should be down there really, but according to the reference, that's what was generated, so I'm just going off that for now. We'll polish that up in a bit, but let's just get into a basic. That's the basic position, isn't it, for now? Something like that. And then maybe not quite as straight there. Never have things dead straight. Really. Obviously that block's straight at the moment. It seems to be sort of mid-eye sort of area. Yeah, it feels like that should be down there, but it's not on the reference, so I may change it, we'll see in a bit. Let's leave it like that. If we now, I'm not sure if I've parented, if I generate a mirror, yeah, we'll still need to mirror that as well. So I'd generate mirror. That can be our wings for now. Can we move them together? Yeah. You never know, sometimes you can't. I think that's about right for the wings. That's the wings blocked in. Seems to have some feet as well. So let's control this to save. Add mesh cube. Scale this cube. For now, let's just bring it out here. And try and gauge the scale, the size of these feet. Something like that. Into edit mode. Let's add a few supporting edges on this. And all I can see really on the reference is something on the middle. Really. So the middle goes inwards a little bit. What we could do, maybe we could just go into, needs to be sort of just the bottom bit. Edge mode, select loops, edge loop. Let's just bring that out a bit so it's same as that. Interface mode, select them two. Right click, extrude along normals, take it inwards. Then in vertex mode, we just bring that in a bit. Select the other one, M, merge at center. Then could we just bring that out a little bit, but enable X. We haven't got symmetry smack on, just be aware of that. I think face, delete faces. Delete faces. And just check you haven't got any open geo, select that, merge it at the last, merge at the last, merge the last. Do we need another supporting edge maybe there and there? Generate subdivision surface, bump it up to 2, right click and shade smooth, see-through mode, edit, vertex. Let's just bring that out a touch. It's a bit more foot-like. If we had another loop in there, we could just scale that loop, couldn't we? Just to bring it, add a touch of roundness. Out to see-through mode. Then let's move. Sometimes you can't move them all together, but that's worked. Bring that up. Foot. It seems to have 4 feet. So yeah, something like that. There. Generate mirror. Grab all this, bring it down. We just going over the top of the foot a bit. Then could we also mirror it in Y? Yeah. We've got our back feet then as well. Control S to save. Now they seem to have something on the top. I'm not 100% sure what it is. If we look, are they some kind of rocks of some kind, or not sure, or areas? I don't know if they're rocks or areas, but let's try and recreate it anyway. We need a tail as well, so definitely need to shape them wings a little bit better. Add mesh, cube, scale, scale. I don't know if to call them ears, or we call them some kind of ears or horns. Might look nice this with a bit of emission, a bit of lighting. Edit mode. With our supporting edges in. Could we try and sculpt these a little bit? Maybe. I think we'll keep it simple for this one. I'll go mad on sculpting really. Let's try and get it going to see-through mode. Let's try and just get a bit of a shape. Vertex. Outwards. These scales in. There must be some kind of ears really. It just reminds me of. It reminds me of sort of that rock off Indiana Jones all them years ago. Is it Indiana? I'm sure it's Indiana Jones. He's got some kind of rock, hasn't he? Is it Raiders of the Lost Ark or Temple of Doom? Anyway, I'm waffling. Right, so maybe not quite as much there. Generate subdivision surface, right click and shade smooth, Control A all transforms to deltas, let's go into Sculpt mode. We haven't got a lot of geometry to play with, but I like to smooth. I like to have that as about 0.4. Holding shift just to smooth around a bit. Smooth the edges out. G for grab, F to resize. Seems to like come out a bit jaggedy. This is more pointy. There. Bring that up, bring that in. Smoothing, bringing it in. More the body at the bottom. More body to it kind of thing at the bottom. Let's go into solo mode. / to do that. Smoothing about. And I could use that as reference, couldn't I, on that light it up on the emission. That Indiana Jones rock I keep going on about. The pointiness there. More of a point there. There must be ears of some kind that the AI's generated maybe. Just not sure. Do a basic model of it anyway. Whatever it is. We could add a few more loop cuts if we need them. I think I'll just try and keep it a bit more simple for now. There it goes. Seems to go that way a bit, doesn't it? Scale it a bit. And I think the actual body, if we go into edit mode and see through, we need to just tweak the proportions of the body a bit. Seems a bit, maybe a touch too big. Down there. Grab everything, move it down so it overlaps the feet a bit. That, if you go into local, we'll move it better. Needs to be just hitting a bit of a tangent than it on the wing. Ain't gotta be perfect. I mean, according to the reference, the shift it's like that, really. But I might maybe just add a mirror modifier and have it generate a mirror. Just have it like that. I'll possibly think about tweaking it a bit, add a bit of variation. Obviously, to do that, I'll lose a mirror, but I'll just block it in for now. So something like that, and then it seems to be, can't really tell, a kind of add mesh cube, scale that. Needs to be I mean, that looks more like a rock, really, sort of a triangular. Triangular bit. Into vertex. something like I had to see through mode, edit, just add a few loop cuts. And a couple of supporting edges maybe. I didn't want them there, I wanted them there. Right click and shade smooth, generate a subdivision surface. Into solo mode. And I look a bit, remember to Control A, all transforms to deltas. They look a little bit like what we've just done, but it's just not as big. X. I seem to go something like that. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Shake it all about. Do the okey cokey, that's what it's all about. That's the plot, you know. That's the plot, never had it. Right, so need to tweak that a little bit, just write a bit of dirt as it were. We could have that as a kind of, I don't know, lit rock. I add a few more edge loops. If you go into edit mode, just add a bit more loop cuts, then back into, you knock your mirror off, get a bit of variation then. Control S to save, smooth. As I say, I'm not quite sure what it is, it's some kind of rock I think. I mean, if you wanted to sculpt it more, try 0.5 and remesh. That's where you'll get your more of a rock. So I mean, you could go with that, couldn't we? Let's have a look at what only 4,000 faces really, so not too bad at all. And in sculpt mode, you've got your different brushes. If you control, you'll bring it outwards, and you could just go around and make it a bit more rock-like. As I say, I don't know if it is a rock, but you can go into matte cap. That's not a bad material, something like that. And I'm only working fast here, but could we do something like that? Just create a bit of a rock waterform from it. Smooth out. We'll just go with that then for now. Maybe do a bit of polish on it, break the edges up a bit. Draw. F to resize. If you hold control, you'll dig inwards, just break the edge up a bit, smooth. Dig inwards, and then maybe dig out, dig in, out, in, out again. God, shake it all about. Right, break them edges up. That can be the rock. Control S to save. / to unisolate. I'm going to have that as a rock thing. Don't know why, but that seems to go there, and it seems to be smaller as well. All transforms to deltas. Seems to be something like that. Something along the lines of that. I think we'll just mirror that for now. Then probably apply the mirror. Then break the symmetry up a bit. There is one in the middle as well. But I might just leave it. Can't quite tell that middle one. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. And these back into sculpt mode. F to resize. These seem to be G for grab. Seem to be coming down. Into his head, kind of thing. Let's bring them right down. Like that. We'll polish them up a bit. So something like that. Still need to maybe bring that eye down a little bit. Do a little bit of tweaking on the body. Do a bit of tweaking all round just to break things up a little bit. I think that mouth is probably a little bit too small. Let's make that mouth a bit bigger. I think the next thing is the tail. I think that's the last thing, the tail. So, I guess we could use a... I mean, I'm a bit of a cube man, I am. They've always called me a bit square, excuse the pun. Oh, these jokes today. Right, so. Swig of water. I just like to go in and just whack my edge loops in there, I do. With my supporting edges. I'm a sucker for a supporting edge. Just once you've got your supporting edge in there, you can generate your subdivision surface. It keeps the bulk of the form in place. So let's scale that like that. We'll go into see through, edit, Control S to save. And just scale the tail. I'm rhyming and all. Scale the tail. So going around to your different views. Scaling. So that's the tail. I guess we could add some bones and rig it. Yeah, we could add like a really subtle movement on the tail, couldn't we? It's a good idea, that. We'll go into, remember you'll get your warning, so Control A, all transforms to deltas out of see-through mode. F to resize. G for grab. Shift to smooth. X, you're smoothing both sides. Smooth out the corners a bit. Just tapping shift. And just start shaping his tail a bit. Seems to come pretty much to a point at the end. So we could maybe add a few edge loops if needed, but we'll just keep it simple for now, smooth it out. That's sort of a dragon's tail, isn't it, really? Adding a bit of roundness to it there, look. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to duck out and do a little bit of polishing on stuff. Just the proportions and clean stuff up a bit. And then when I come back, I'll tell you what I've done. We can look into, we can either rig or do the materials, or probably do a bit of rigging to start with. Simple bit of rigging. So I'll be back soon and I'll just tell you what polish I've done on this. Alright, so I'm back on. So what did I do then? I ducked out for about 15 minutes, and what I've done is I've added a bit more roundness onto this wing and move these wing bones into position so they go inside the wing there. We obviously got it mirrored, so it's done it both sides. Added a little bit more form onto these rocks, a few little things. Done a bit of tweaking on these rock things. Changed the proportions a bit on the eyes and head there, just moving some vertexes about. Done a bit of tweaking of the shapes. Scaled the feet a bit. Everything's zeroed out and nice and clean. With the camera and lights, if you go into animation, I've just moved the camera there so you can see it. Move the light there, you go into lit mode. There's just a basic light. That's simple enough. You get a camera and light to start with, so you just move your camera into the position you want it, and your light. And if you're in the animation tab and you move your camera, you'll see it in your view there. You can go to view, cameras, set to active object or active camera, and that'll set it. But this should be already set if you're in animation. Nice the animation tab, because you get your animation window, your timeline, or graph editor animate, and your 3D viewport. So yeah, I spent about 10 or 15 minutes just cleaning up a bit. So I think what we'll do next, we're looking to doing a bit of rigging on this. Because I might just have him standing there and just a little flap of the wing and some eye darts. Or I might have him actually in the air with a little, we'll see in a bit. But I think we'll get it rigged up first. I was going to sculpt the tail. It's more like the reference, more of a sort of dragon's tail there, which can be done. You've got to increase the go into sculpt mode and remesh, and you have real sort of, you know, more topology and more dense mesh. When you can generate a multi-res, you can subdivide and add division levels, but we might try that in a bit. We'll get it rigged up first. So let's go to add armature, single bone, into your running man viewport display in front. By doing that, you see your bone properly then. So, I mean, as I say, with that, you'd think really that that bone would be down there for the wing flap. But on the AI generation, it's not. It doesn't matter, I don't know what I'm going on about that, but let's get it rigged up and try and get set up a bit of a decent system on it. So that can be our main body, can't it? I think what we'll do, we'll go shift this. Shift this, selection to cursor, that can be our body. Let's build a bone system first. So if you go into edit mode, let's go shift D. Can be the wing. Shift D. Let's hide our lights and camera. That can be the. We'll maybe have a little bit of subtle movement on that here. Shift D again. That can be the eye. You want that to pivot correctly. And we also want to move them independently. So what we'll do, we'll apply this mirror modifier. We'll shift this. Cursor to selected. Get it right in the middle of the eye. Then this eye bone. Shift this. Selection to cursor. Me right in the middle of the eye there. We can pivot it correctly. That can be our eye bone. Be our eye bone. We got wing, eye, body. Don't really need anything on the feet. But we do need to rig up the tail. So shift D on that. Your X's. North, your dead centre. Going to see through, that can be the tail base. Move that down here. In armature, subdivide, subdivide, subdivide. It's not going to be the best tail rigging, but we'll get something on it. What we'll do now then, we'll go to F2. Tail root. Copy. Paste. Tail 01. Paste. Tail 02. Tail 03. And what I also done when I ducked out for a bit was got everything zeroed out and named properly. And we'll name that as pet rig. And that can go inside your pet collection. Keep things nice and clean. So we want to name that as I dot right. We go to armature, symmetry eyes. Because we added a dot R, we'll get a dot L. We got an eye for both sides. That F2. Wing dot L. Armature, symmetry eyes. Now we just get, so we got our right wing. And then we want that, 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 and that. Select that last. Control P, keep your offset. If we're going to pose mode and move this, everything's parented to the master bone. We've obviously missed them to Control P, keep offset. If we now go to pose mode, then we move the body, everything can move, that's what we want. Control S. So that's that. let's think about getting things weighted then. We don't want stuff parented when we're going into. We want to Alt P, clear parent and keep transform. Before you go into rigging, don't want anything parented because it can go out of place. Control A. Make sure you've got everything set to 0 as well. And we want to separate them eyes. So we'll go into edit mode. Don't want to loop. Just want to go to Control L, P, selection, into object mode, F2, I, dot L. Make sure that's I, dot R. There's your two eyes. Let's now go to, we can apply that mirror to the feet. Turn off our subdiv for now. When we're getting it rigged up, I like to turn off your subdivision. You can see what's going on more. Turning off all our subdivisions. I believe that we want that as .l. We've obviously missed one there in Armature. Symmetrize. Let's just double check that it's parented yet. Then we don't really need the mirror on that. We can apply that and also apply that mirror. That can just be weighted to the body. So you've applied that mirror, that is turn off the subdiv as well. Wings. I think we can possibly keep the mirror on that. Let's rig it up and see. Let's get all our meshes. Control S to save. Let's get this weighted up then. So we want to select all our meshes. Then select our rig. Go to Control P, and you want empty groups this time. If you're doing a full character, we usually want automatic weights, but now we want to paint it separately. We want these feet to be weighted to there, so you select the other way around, you go rig feet, weight paint, F to resize. I like to go into that and click none, and you'll see the blue then. So Control Shift click. Get your feet all red. If you hit that, you see it all there. You want your feet red. You want to come out of that, you want to select your body, then your rig, and then your body. White paint, shift click. Strength and white to 1. Everything red on the body. Rig here. Really, we want to separate that, don't we? We can have it independent. We have to go into edit mode on that. Control L, P, selection, F2, here, here.L, F2, here.R. white paint, click that bone, white that area, or wherever it is. I'm calling it an area. To that one. White paint, select that bone, white that to the bone. These rocks here can just be parented to the body. Now white paint that, select the body bone, paint these rocks in. Select that to just check. Control S to save. Eyes. So you want rig, then the eye, white paint. Click that eye. Paint that in. Select the other eye. Click that to see through. Paint that one in. Let's just have a swig of water. Let's just gotta type something in. Yep, so we've got our eyes rigged up. Next the tail, next, isn't it? And the wings. So white paint, see through. This is where you'll benefit from automatic whites, that is. But obviously would have caused too much hassle really on painting stuff in and out on this character. You can go to white, smooth. Now select that bone. And it's not going to deform brilliant, this, but the topology is not the best, but hopefully be okay for this simple character and rig. So that's how it works. That bone, for example, is pretty much encompassing that part of the mesh. So when you move that bone, that mesh will move. Oh, so that's that tile done. I just had to press pause a minute. So someone was at the door. So what I've done, the only thing I've done when I come back, I never recorded, was I just combined the bones and the wing. So you just select them both and Control J on that. And I've applied the mirror modifier, and we can have them slightly flapping slightly different if we do the flap thing. So what we'll do now, bone, wing, white paint, don't need X. We don't need to mirror the vertex groups there. Select that. White one. Let's just paint this wing in separate to the other one. And as I say, if you wanted it bang on mirrored, you can just do that thing I showed you, mirror vertex groups, and enable your X there. But I just wanted to have it slightly different. So you're just going in now, and we're just painting the whites on this wing. And what you can do in other ways, you can, if you go into edit mode and see through vertex and select all your vertexes there, go into the triangle, wing L, assign. You'll assign all your vertexes. Have we still got them as? Hang on, have we? Maybe that should be separate then. Oh, hang on, edit mode. What we want to do, if we go to a modifier, then click that triangle there. We should be able to see. So edit. On Control L. I want to assign all that to that wing. Now that should move. I don't understand why that's not. Have we got a problem on the other side? Is there a bit of weighting on? There shouldn't be any weighting on there. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Should be able to go into edit mode, Control L, and assign. And that should, everything should be assigned then to that wing. I'm thinking there must be, this can happen in rigging, there must be something else affecting. So they're all weighted, look, so there you go, look. Yeah, it's got some fall off onto the wing. I'm not sure why, because we assigned it with empty groups. We must have missed something somewhere along the line. So again, you can go into edit mode, Control L, there, remove, I, remove, remove. Still something assigned to that, isn't there? White paint. Some bone is still affecting that. ERL. ERL is affecting it. So, ERL, remove. Control L, ERL, remove, and ER, remove. Seems to just be having a few little white issues, don't we, on this? I'm not sure why. Because we assigned empty groups, didn't we? Edit mode. Control L. Remove. Just remove everything apart from the wing. You're removing all the weight on it. Apart from wing L. And this one. Control L. Remove everything apart from wing R. You're removing all the weight from all the other parts apart from the wing. There you go. Can happen with rigging that. You can get some weight assigned even though you've went to empty groups. I'm not sure why, but we must have painted it wrong earlier. But that's showing you another way of how to fix it up. Anyway, so there's no big issue there. So that bone now is only affecting the separate wings. And we don't have to have it dead mirrored. We can offset it a little bit if we want. So that's a good way of doing it, that. So even though we had an error, we didn't expect that. That's a good way to go in, that. If you Control L, you can remove the weight. But that should be pretty much rigged up now. If we're going to pose mode, move him about, that's it, the body is moving everything we want. You can independently move, we go to X. You know, we can move the do your things around a bit. You can move the wings. Maybe you can have something like that. You can move the eyes. Yeah, we can move the body. We should be able to move the tail. Well, as I say, it's not the best deformation of the tail, but because the topology's not as even, you want pretty much even topology. We're only working fast. It's still okay. We'll be able to pose that tail. If you go to A, Alt R, Alt G, you can reset everything. So I think that's pretty much in rigged up, isn't it? So we can create a little animation with that. Right, so we've got this guy rigged up. So obviously we want to texture him, don't we? What we can do. I think we'll just hide the rig for now. Let's look into getting some unwrapping done then. So, just checking that. That's not sure if that should be separate really. Let me just check that there. Should be okay because they're not mirrored. If we enable, yeah, we're okay. I need to double check that. But yeah, we can hide that rig for now. Let's look into getting these unwrapped. We're only really going to see. We don't want to go mad on the unwrapping and spend forever on it. We're only really going to see from the front. Let's see how we go. Let's go into our UV unwrap, UV editing window. Oh yeah. CNN. Then when you go into another window, you have to restart your screen cascades. You want to see what I'm pressing. Let's just dive straight into it, then unwrapping. So select loops, edge loops, right click, mark seam, A to select all, U, minimum stretch. I like to see my wireframe. Again into edge mode, select loops, edge loops, base, A to select all, unwrap. Did we mark the seam? Maybe we never mark. Select loops, edge loops, right click, mark your seam, A to select all, U, minimum stretch. Sorry, I never selected or marked the seam, did I? This one is quite dense, that is. So I think we'll just add a simple material to that one. Don't really need to unwrap that. Grab the tile, edit mode. Edge, select loops, edge loops. You want one that's not going to be. Select loops, edge loops. Right click, mark seam, face, A, U, minimum stretch. Eyes, need to unwrap them. Solo, edge mode. Select loops, edge loops, right click, mark seam, face, A, U, minimum stretch, / to one solo, / to solo, edge, select loops, edge loops, right click, mark seam, A to select all, interface mode, U, minimum stretch. And the last one, the feet, I think we'll do the same as the rock there, just keep them as a solid colour. We've got our subdiv off there. Let's look about. Let's go into edge. Let's try and select a few. Select edge loops. Yeah, I can cut that face. Select edge loops. Then we can select edge loops there. Inside here, we can select the edge loops. And then select, not sure if that's gonna, just select them, shift, select, cut out that. Right click, mark your scene. Right to select all, U. Let's try cube projection. Then what we can do, we Control L and simply just move them. And Control L means we can work on each face, look, by doing cube projection. Control L. All we gotta do is tidy up all the maps really. And we can look into painting on it. So let's might as well do this one while we're at it. Not really going to see inside. So what we can do, we can just scale that right down. So we've got a bit more real estate. Bottom of the eye. Not really going to see that either. That one. Control L. Top of the eye. Not really going to see that. We'll just overlap them over each other. If you was going into a game engine, you wouldn't overlap it in general like that. But I believe I've done a few characters for Roblox engine on Roblox Studio, and I think you can overlap them on that. I'm guessing that, yeah, that's that. That can just be overlapped, which will give us some more real estate. If there's a visual issue, we'll just iron it out. This bit here, yep, is round the side, so that can go there and be scaled. Because the eye's covering all that bit, isn't it? We're not really going to see it. These sections here, you want to be painting on them. So let's spread them out so the same to paint on. I'm guessing we could probably have a 4K map, I think. So Control L. And then move it into your UV space. Control L, scale, move it into your UV space. And there's your last one, obviously 6 faces to a cube. So we'll just have to scale that a touch. Scale that a touch. Move that to there. That to there. That should be decent to paint on. We'll create a 4K map. So, Control S to save. On solo. We just need to do that for the rest of it now. Right, so let's start setting up these textures. Ready for texture painting. So let's go to shading. we go into material there, got a material. First go to edit. Where are we? File, external data, pack resources, and then clean up, purge any unused data. There's our material, the body there. We'll go to Shift A, texture, image texture, new. Let's have it as 4K. So we can get some nice details on it. Or at least be able to paint it decent. Base colour, sort of a, just looking at the reference, it's like a dark, very deep purple, isn't it? Very deep purple. What band is it? Deep Purple? Rings a bell. New image. Colour. Did I change that? Oh, new. Yeah. It's just. Yeah, new image. Colour. Yeah. Kind of purple. Maybe a little bit brighter. Let's leave it at that for now. Kind of purple. And then what we should have done really was copied the value of that texture map. Texture, image texture, new, 4K. Let's name it body, colour. Copy the value, copy. New image, and plug it in. And we can use that for the wings. Shift I, texture, image texture, new, 4K. Wings, new image. Oh, it's defaulted to that colour anyway, we're okay. Shift I, texture, image texture, new. Yeah, we're alright, we're on that colour. Let's just double check. Paste, yeah. Was that ears, was it? We'll keep the same for that. We'll assign ears to that. Best to name them there as well. Actually, I might get a bit confused. Keeps things nice and clean, look if you name stuff. New. Eyes. Again. Shift I. Texture. Image texture. New. Copy that value in case, but we want this as pretty much white. New image, plug that in. And that can also be the eyes. Feet. We can go over there and just create a basic. Paste in the value. Probably just keep that flat. That can be the, we'll call that base. Also assign base to that. The tail. Right. Possibly have that a bit lighter. Shift I, texture, image texture, new. Tail. Paste that in. I think have it a bit, try it a bit lighter. Plug that into the colour. If we go into layout, the colour, that's the basic base, which we can paint on. That's our basic base to paint on. And what we can do, switch our subdivs back on there. Subdiv. It's quite dark, isn't it? That's a purple. You might need to just bump that up a bit. Depends what it looks like with lights, really. Quite dark. We'll either lighten that up, lighten the texture up by painting it, or bump the lights up or something like that. So that's all the map set up. What we can do now, we can start the texture process. If we go into texture paint, not sure why that's, check that base, not sure why that's showing us white there. I think sometimes if you're in flat solid shading, it doesn't always show up. It's showing up alright in material preview. And let's now start texture painting. If we look at the reference, do a bit of texture painting along the lines of that. I'm thinking some emission might work on this. Well, let's paint in a few textures first. So we've got all our textures set up. Let's go into texture paint. Put our screencast keys on, got our epic pen there. I'm thinking that's a little bit dark, isn't it? This body here. So should we try and just lighten it up just a little bit? Maybe just bring that up a bit. Go to fill. Fill there. Fill that. Alt Q. Fill our wings. Fill them. Alt Q. Fill that. Fill. In the rock. Fill that. Just make it a little bit lighter. So Alt Q, I think we'll start painting this body in there. So just looking at this reference. We're on the body. Just make this touch brighter. I think, yeah, paint with soft pressure. Strength down. More of a bit of a violet. All a bit low strength. Somewhere around there, isn't it? Just painting. I think we'll go into solo as well. Maybe a bit stronger. I think it's mainly the wings. You can see that, but we'll lay a little bit in here. We'll go to our smear. F to resize and just smear this about a little bit. Let's just check our subdiv. I might just put that to 1 for now, so it's not lagging as much. I just smear that about a little bit. Create a bit of variation. And I'll go in and polish this more, but we're just laying down a little bit. You can use blur as well. Blur there. I mean, the main thing I'm seeing on this is kind of a pink. Smooth it a little bit more. When we can, could we try turning our subdiv off? It doesn't lag as much. The main thing I'm seeing really is, yeah, paint soft pressure's good. It's like a pinky colour, isn't it? Kind of a lightish pink. Look at that. Put the strength to 1. Maybe a little bit brighter than that. Quite bright. Something along the lines of that. We haven't got mirror on. Really, we should have had. It doesn't matter. I mean, we'll put mirror on then for that. Or maybe not. It won't be as symmetrical then. Let's just have a look at painting in what we're seeing. It's still not bright enough. It's really quite bright, it's pink. We'll go with something not quite as bright. And we'll try and do it a bit brighter. So it hasn't got to be perfect, we're just mimicking. We can say in this reference, which you can download in the description. Far from perfect, but I'm just showing you the process a bit. There's the paint stuff. Obviously that gap's a bit small compared to the reference. We're not going for perfection, just showing techniques. Yeah, the pressure changes there. It's like push down, you'll get thicker line. You can go thinner and a little bit thicker. But it's decent that paint soft pressure. Then we could maybe go a bit lighter, couldn't we? Something like that, and then we could probably paint an emission map as well, you know, to light this up a little bit. Just going a bit brighter. We've obviously got it coming round the front there as well. somewhere down and around there. F to adjust your brush size. Painting some other parts, you say. Put our subdiv on. It should be alright at level 1. I'm seeing a few. You can also go to paint hard and put in a few little dots I can see as well. Maybe go strength higher. Be little dots. Seeing a few dots around here. Messing around with your strength. You grab your pipette, I generally like to do it in the view there to grab the correct colour. Strength down. And then just painting a few more. The strength of 1, yeah. Painting in a few more bits. It's best to have it as soft pressure when you're doing that. Got some more stuff around the front here, I can see. Bits coming in here. Up there, a few little dots. Looks like there's a and if that's not really say if it's a mouth or nose, I've obviously modelled it as a mouth. A few little dots around. And then hard. Paint hard. Looks like there's a it's quite dark. Put X on there. It's like a nose, and it's pretty much black. Somewhere like that. So you want to be doing that the other side. Looks like there's some paint soft pressure. Grab a pipette there. And it goes really quite bright in places as well. Sort of pretty much white really. Which we can use, I guess, an emission map as well. Maybe hard, paint hard maybe. We get some of the real whiteness in there. Not too keen on that. Something along the lines of that, far from perfect, but obviously we've got to paint the other side. It's Control S to save. Want to hide the rest. Look at our wing. Not sure if that colours. Colour look a little bit different. If that colour looks a touch different to that, maybe it's just the lighting. Tap swig of tea. Wow, subdiv at 1. And also we can paint in the ears. And these ears, paint soft pressure. Try and grab this violety colour. It seems to be quite bright on the ears. Oh, cute. Here we've got the right, got a bit of lag in there. We're going to have to knock that down to 1. Knock that down to 1. Let's isolate the selection on that. Try filling it. Yeah. Then we want a violet colour. Maybe have the strength, something like that. Soft pressure. Start painting in. This might be even a bit brighter. Painting it in there as a base. Smear it around a bit. You can get a bit laggy if you turn off your subdiv. You haven't got as much shape. So something like that. Then we've got this pinky colour again. Bit brighter. Solo it. Let's look into painting this pinky colour in again. But really we want to put strength at 1. And paint this. And obviously it's not perfect, so I'm rushing a little bit just to show the process of how you go about it. But that's how you do it. Brighter. It looks like a few black marks as well. Make this quite bright. If you go into stroke, stabilise stroke. So you can get that. Which I'm not going to use, I'm just showing you how you can use it, stabilise stroke. But so you get like, I don't know if you've used ZBrush, like that lazy mouse in ZBrush. So that's quite useful as well. Far from the best paint job in the world. It can be brighter there. Maybe do a bit of a smoothing again. Paint hard. That's a few. Few dots here and there. Just loosely basing it on the reference. Certainly not mimicking the reference to a T. Something like that. Few little dots and bits come out of solo. Grab that one again and add a few little odds and sods to it. Remember, you might not want X in there. The feet, assign the ears. You could assign, it's not going to be a perfect texture map, but I like that. Not sure what this is assigned to, the body. That's just a flat material, the material. We could maybe create some emission on that, so we won't paint that. Maybe create some emission on that. We need to paint the other one as well. So that's got to be painted. We obviously need to paint the wings as well. So we could paint soft pressure again, Control S to save. Grab our violet, strength down, strength up a little bit. Start painting in violet here. Probably keep the bones of the wings pretty much flat. Painting a bit of violet. Then we want our pink again. Pinky colour. Pipette. There. Quite brightish. Quite brightish pink on the wings. or the strength of 1. Just painting in. So that's pretty much the process of how you go about texture painting. You spend as long or as little as you want doing it. Obviously the longer and more steady your hand is, the better your texture paint. So what I'll do now is I shall go in and texture paint the rest and come back and tell you what I've done. But remember, you want the eyes done as well. So I'll just look at these eyes as well. It's like a violety colour. On there. And also use your map to paint in as well. Let's try paint hard. Just try and keep it simple. Paint hard. Think along the lines of that. Which will clean up a little bit. That's your eyes. But yeah, you can also paint. I've shown myself painting in the 3D viewport. Remember, you can also paint on your image editor as well. So that's all the texturing blocked in. What we could also do there, we could have a nice little, if you set that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you'll get dead white. You could have a nice little specular highlight, couldn't you, as well? And the reference is quite big, specular highlight. I mean, the reference, it goes up here, the violet. I might just keep it simple. Yeah, somewhere around there. But yeah, I'm going to go in now and polish the rest of this texture up. I shall come back and tell you what I've done. Right, so we're back on then. Done some polish on this texture paint. Added some more lines in there. Painted a bit more on the ears. Painted this other wing. To the eyes. If you go into materials, you can have your roughness as 0, which will give you your shiny eyes. Painted the tail in. So this, we've got an emission. So that will be able to do a bit of lighting up on that. You can key it there if you want as well. You get pulses on and off. So that can be a bit of a secondary action for the animation. That's everything really. I mean, it's far from perfect. You know, could do with some better painting, but I've got it to half decent standard. Mimicking the reference that Elijah with me. So yeah, that's the texture job done. I'm thinking what else we can do before animation. What we could do, we go into shading, select our body, and then go to Shift A texture, image texture, new, all that, EM, have it as black, new image, plug that into your emission there. If you right click and control, you can cut it, by the way, to add and re-add. You have that as non-colour. That's generally what an emission map is. It's black and then the white lights up. That can be our emission map. So what we could then do is go into texture paint. Alt Q, make sure you got your body selected. Here, texture paint. We're on our EM there, look. Emission, what we just created. So, go into our emission here, set the strength to 1 so we can see it. And you'll be able to paint in then an emission, maybe on this. Go to paint soft. Have it as dead white. And you can have your strength as less as well. Blend it in, but we'll just put the strength as 1 for now. And then just painting some whiteness there to create a emission map. So, not going to be perfect, showing you the process of it. If you paint in on white along here, you can do that on the wings as well with the same sort of process if you want. A little dot in there. A bit of white in there. So just going through and painting in the inner sort of whiteness. And just make sure you got your EM there. So you make sure you're painting on your emission map, not on your base colour. You can add a few other, you can go to hard pressure as well and just add a few more dots in other places. If you knock your strength down, you can even have some fall off as well. Let's to use your soft pressure. And you can have fall off from it as well, so it also light up or fall off the inner white as well. That's another thing you can do. If you now go to strength lock, you're on naught, it's nothing. You can have that pulsing a little bit. So that's what I'll probably do on before I render it. I'll go in and paint a bit more emission and have a little bit of pulsing on that to light it up a bit. Obviously you can go all the way to 100. It'll be really bright. But generally something around that kind of mark will work nice. Just a bit of pulsing on that. We'll just leave it at 0.5 for now. So that's another thing you can do, a little emission map. So what we want to do now, then we've got everything rigged up. I think we'll just create a simple little animation in now on this character. So let's do that next. Right, so we're in our animation tab. I'll have my wireframe on, don't know why. So let's try and create a simple little flight cycle then for this if you want to see a proper sort of flight cycle, I've got a tutorial for that on my other videos. Let's keep this just a simple cartoony sort of flight cycle. That's our camera and lights there. Just a simple light and camera. So let's look at a simple little animation. So what we want to do, we want to go into pose mode. A to select all. I to insert a key. I like to be in the timeline. You can also key it in your dope sheet as well. I generally like to have my camera, viewport and timeline. Make sure you got auto key on there. So A, I. You can also hit I in your timeline. Flight cycle. Generally around 30 frames. Let's just set that to 30. Let's just think about posing this first pose then. So we'll have him, I think we'll have him off the ground a bit there. You might need to move the camera back a bit to get the wings in. Let's move him off the ground. So obviously if he's gone upwards, the wings will be down because the force is pushed up. I haven't got my epic. I've closed my epic pen. There's my epic pen. So obviously, I was playing up my epic pen. I can use annotate there. If that's going up the body, means the wings push down. So let's have that up. So the wings have pushed down. Let's go into local. We go into X, impose them both. Just bring them like that kind of thing. More of a silhouette there. I mean, they're slightly away from the body, but I think we really got to worry. We're not going mad on this. So the body's up. The wings have pushed down. We can use our Y rotation in the most part. So wings have pushed down, body's up. And obviously, this is just a simple cartoony one. I mean, in a proper flight cycle. And anatomy, you've got bone, bone, bone. This is not going to be like that. Well, like I just said previously, if you want to see a proper flight cycle, I've done one of them. It's a tutorial. So body up, wings down. That can be our first pose. Maybe these ears, if that's going out that way, maybe the ears could go in a little bit. Now obviously we've got our tail to think about. So you're not going to see the back. You could maybe bring the tail down, maybe so it doesn't look dead centre. Let's maybe have the tail. We have a little S curve, couldn't we? The tail. Not sure what it'll look like out there now. Let's keep it like that. Hopefully people won't think he looks rude. You know what people are like. The tile. So pushing, so I copy that, paste it to 30, have 29 so it loops perfect. Then halfway through, say 15, AI, all channels, it's going to be going downwards, isn't it? It'll be down. So the ears could go back out a bit, and obviously the wings are going to be up, aren't they? Ready for him to push back up. Then the tail could go possibly the opposite way, say. Something like that. And just use the arrow key to go in between. Or just 3 simple keys. Keeping it very simple. Make sure we're on 24 FPS, hit the space bar. There's your very simple light cycle. Super quick, super simple. Control S to save. What we'll do is we'll go to I, all channels. And we'll try and just even though, as I say, it's not, you haven't got bones and that, we'll just drag them a little bit. Then halfway there, then I, we'll drag them the opposite way. Maybe a bit more there, create a bit more force to push up. Then what we could do, let's have a look at the tail. Just go into there, you could drag this tail a little bit. A little bit of dragging the tail. Let's have a look. It's best to offset them in the graph editor. Plenty of tutorials about that. That needs cleaning up in the graph editor. Obviously we've got nothing to animate on the feet. So what we'll do now, to polish up, we'll go into the graph editor there. View, only selected. Don't show your cursor. Control S to save. Let's just have a little look at the body. We only put an up and down on the Y, so you can hide the others. If you go to cycles, you'll get your perfect loop. Maybe drag that out a bit, create a bit of variation. And you could go into your X curve there and just see what that gives you if you had very slight doesn't really need it, but you could just add touch. You just offset it there. Just adds a touch of dirt so it's not quite as straight. The wings. Wasn't any location. Mainly in your Y curve. Cycle that, be a perfect loop. A bit of variation. Let's just concentrate on the Y curve really. There was a bit of movement on the others. We're just keeping it simple. You could offset that just to see how it looks. Just so it's not quite as it's not exactly the same timing as the other one. This, you could offset that one maybe to there, and offset that one to there, so they hit a little bit different. Control S to side. Now the tail was mainly Y. So if we just concentrate, sorry, Z, wasn't it? If we mainly concentrate on Z, I just select your Z curves. You select these three, move, then these two, move, now the last one, move, then you've offset them then to create your drag. I've only done it really quick and dirty. So you could do with a bit more cleanup. But that generally gives you an idea how to cycles. Just mess around with your curves, get your curves looking nicer. Check this one here, that's your base one. Let's give you your offset, so base 01, 02, 03. Moving a bit much and far from perfect, but that gives you an idea how you can get a bit of animation on your tail. Definitely needs toning down a bit. It's moving a bit too much, I think. So just move your curves down. Let's just check the other curve. Haven't really got much on that. You can mess with your other curves, but as you can see, generally it's in your Z or Z channels. Then you've got your tail movement. Make sure you move these. Make sure you move them at the same time. If you want the first and last frame the same. So it needs cleaning up a bit, but that gives you an idea of how you go about creating your simple animation for that. And obviously if you extend your timeline and cycle everything, you could maybe add a little eye dart in the middle. You could even add a little shape key for a blink. I think what I'll do is I'll just have the eyes looking this way a little bit. You have to just delete your other ones. Have the eyes looking that way a bit. Tail needs a bit of cleanup. And you could have the camera create a bit more perspective maybe. if you wanted it not to look quite as flat. Another thing you could do is come out of pose mode, grab your rocks, whatever they are, go into your emission. You could key to 0 there, and key to 0 there, and in the middle you could maybe have it as 0.3. Turn that off. So that's lighting up a bit now. So you're lighting up that rock. You could have a look at your emission map there, and maybe, as I say, halfway through you could light your emission map up, what we painted in on that. So there's plenty of little things you could add on the polish, which I'll probably do before I render, but I've shown you how to do them. I'll do a bit more clean up on the animation myself, and I'll get that rendered. And then one last thing I wanted to just show you is if you go into your dope sheet and into your action editor, you've created an action there. So you could name that as flight cycle, for example. And if you click the shield, you'll get F and F there, which means you've created it's known as a fake user in Blender. Strange name, I know. That's stored it now, that has. By doing that, it's stored it. So that is, if you export your rig and your mesh and stuff, that's available in game engines then. So what you could do, you could create, for example, if you close that and go to new and then create a idle, you can then go into pose mode, A, Alt R, Alt G, then you could just create an idle animation as well. Where say the wings moving a touch. And you can go back to your flight cycle. So while we're at it, what we could do is we could create a little idle animation, couldn't we? So let's just pose this. Let's maybe have the wings there, like that. All channels, copy, paste at the end, and in the middle the wings could just enable X. Just a tiny little flap, wouldn't it? That could be like idle. Then what you could do to add a little bit more life is, I haven't set up the proper, my last tutorial actually, cartoon eyes, if you want to know how to set up eyes professionally, industry standards, and moving them. What we'll do with this, we'll just have a little comes along there, and then maybe just over one frame. Have a little eye dart, so he looks. And these eyes, I haven't done them exactly as they are in the reference. I just kept it more simple. So he could just look, couldn't he, say, to the screen left. So he looks there, holds it until there. And then goes back. So he's doing it a bit too often, isn't he, really? But what you have to do there is extend your timeline. So we'll probably forget the eye dart on there. But obviously if you extend your timeline, you could have your little eye dart, like I've done in other tutorials. Or just have him with his tiny little wing movement. You could have Enable X, could have a tiny little movement there as well, couldn't you? Make sure you're in the right frame. So that could be a little idle. So if you now go back to your dope sheet and your action editor, idle, click the shield, you've now got your flight cycle and your idle. She'll go into a game engine. So flight cycle, there's our flight cycle. Idle, there's our little idle. And that's going to be the end of this one. Obviously, if you turn on your camera and light, grab your light, increase that to like 2000. You just need to create an infinite background, which I've done on plenty more tutorials. Just create a plane and create a bit of lighting. And you'll be able to render that out nicely as well. Plenty more tutorials on how to light your scenes. So you can check them out. Back into we're in our dope sheet. Flight cycle. There's your nice little flight cycle. And I'll do a little bit of polish on the tail, tone that down a bit. And I'll do a final render for that for Instagram. So there's your simple little pet simulator animation. So we've covered quite a lot in this. We've modelled, rigged, textured, animated, added an emission map, created a couple of actions there which can go into a game engine, like Unity for example. So yeah, that's the end of this simple little pet simulator tutorial. So hope you enjoyed that one, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Peace.